and it's been a trending topic in the latter with her versus DL Hewley. And now that that's subsided a little bit, we don't hear so much talk about it as much on the let's see, the airwaves, YouTube. It's time to calm down and take some reality. And I'm the type of man that I have to say what's right when it's right. I don't necessarily pick sides. I don't necessarily pick certain individuals or whatever the case may be because of their fandom or because I like them or whatever the case may be. But this has to be discussed. As many of y'all know, between I guess, the argument that DL Hewley and Monique had contractually, well, it was an argument that was had. It was seen across YouTube. It was seen across many different flights. And one of the things that stuck out that people were saying at the time about Monique was this. They were saying, well, Netflix is wrong. Steve Harvey is wrong. You know, on a list of litany of different people that they mentioned, they said, everybody's wrong except for you, Monique. Maybe it's you. Well, I got to say today, just to keep it 100, maybe it's y'all. Today, Monique won her lawsuit settlement, or rather, they had reached an agreement. And that agreement said as such as this, and I'll go over the details if you're not in the privy of what would happen. A couple, well, more than a few ago now, Monique was in a contract, well, was in contractual excuse me, was in contractual negotiations with Netflix. And this pertained to basically where they were going to pay her, how long her set was going to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Once again, something, pay post extension of this, something else contractual. At the time, they only offered Monique $500,000. And now, usually, what happens is that $500,000 is now bumped up. That's just your first offer, okay? Meaning that we'll offer you $500,000, but you have the right to argue for more. Okay, they didn't give Monique that option. Instead, they just took the deal off the table, from what I know, and said, "Hey, we don't want to deal with that." And then, since hence, Monique sued, and she sued under the guise of gender and race. Now, this is what I want to point out to a lot of you ladies, because I see in the other video that I put up, in the other clip that I put up, a lot of y'all bashing Monique, and it makes no sense to me. But I'm going to give you more of the details. So, just as of, I'm going to say it was Tuesday, and they're actually just reporting on it now. But just as of this recent, Netflix has subsided, and they both amicably have come to the decision that they're going to remove the lawsuit. Now, this is the thing. We don't know what the details are with as far as damages. We don't know what the details are as far as will she be able publicly to speak about this. We don't know what the details are of any of those things. More importantly enough, sometimes when you have this, sometimes we have settlements like this or amicable decisions made by the court to conclude what said lawsuit would have been, whatever case may be. Sometimes what you have is you'll have this segment where they won't want to disclose the details. And I think with a company like Netflix, this might be where we're at. We might never know the details of this, but I'm going to say my hypothetical or my guess. What I think is, I think there was some type of damages that were awarded. I think there was some type of if you want to say NDA sign, meaning that Monique may or may not speak publicly about this. She may or may not be able to divulge the information as far as the details of what the settlement came to or whatever the case may be. I don't know. And that's only for Monique to tell us because, quite secondly, Miss Monique Hicks was there. Now, this is the thing I want to get into after explaining all that. There was a lot of people that came on and they said that Monique was wrong or whatever. And I'm not here to buy for her. I'm not here to fight for her, whatever the case may be, because half of these stars, they wouldn't do the same for me, right? That's good. But what I do register and where I do stay at is right and wrong and wrong. Okay. And I'm just saying, maybe there's a possibility here that maybe some of the things that Monique is saying, some of the things, I'm not saying everything, but a lot of things might be pointing to Monique might actually be honestly and truthfully in the right frame. And we're taking it based on our subtleties that we have with, especially when it comes to, I hate to say it, people of color in general. You know, a lot of people are steadfast and come to the decision, and sometimes they equate things when they speak about these stars, when they speak about people that have been in the industry, they come to these steadfast conclusions based on what their life's been like or based on what they know. These are not people that have actually been in contractual obligations as far as record companies, as far as filming or anything else. These are people that just basically, their day-to-day job may be working at the local grocery store, working at the local McDonald's, or whatever the case may be. They, in fact, have never been in this business or have even go further, seen a contractual agreement to the degree that Monique might usher. Does that make sense? So when we get these conclusions and we get these people that matter of factly come in and write comments or give their opinions or whatever the case may be, the truth of the matter is you're lying to your audience because one, well, just to say it in a blunt, you're how can I say it? Unfamiliar. You're not only unfamiliar, but I'll even go further and I'll say that this doesn't have anything to do with anything that you do. See, Monique's contractual agreement, I said before, what she would have had with Netflix is out of your scope. And it's for a time that many people online start admitting that. And as long as we got so many people online, let's say, coming to their matter of factly conclusions, yes, you heard me correct. Matter of factly conclusions, meaning that you project something, you write it or whatever, whatever, and you write it to the best of the ability of your writing and your grammar, and you present that, or you go actively on YouTube or wherever else social media you might utilize, and you say, you know what, matter of factly, this is the reason why. And that's the same thing that happened with Monique when somebody brought up the situation, including her brother and her sister, when they say, well, maybe it's you. Well, I'm saying here, maybe it's not Monique, and maybe Monique might have a possibility of having a point here. Because if I see somebody like Netflix say, you know what, we want to back up off of this. Now, a lot of people know that there's been some dwindling subscription rates or whatever to go as far as Netflix or whatever. And in comparison to all the other comics that came on there, both black and female, which Monique fits the cusp of both of those, um, they paid them significantly more. Now, I will say this. There's a possibility that Monique might have depreciated in value based on her fact of not being as visible as she once was. And I'm not taking anything from her accolades from the movie Precious, which is still selling to this day. I'm not taking anything from her accolades as far as being a comedian because she made me laugh many a times. Shout out to the Big Black Comedy Show. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we have a litany of different people that are out here that like to report on things and they report on them with a skew. They comment with a skew and with a preference to whoever it is. Now, when we had this whole argument with DL Hewley and Monique, everybody had their preference of what side they were. You either team DL or you either team Monique. I kind of played the middle ground, but I damn sure wasn't on team DL because I saw something there that DL Hewley thought that the rest of America didn't know about. And that was his contractual agreement. Now, I'm not going to go into details about that or whatever the case may be, but for those in the know, and while you've noticed that you've never heard any stars speak about the contractual agreements outside of Steve Harvey, which muttered them because they saw the same thing I did. There's some inconsistencies in those contractual agreements. Now, I got to ask next, is Monique going to possibly take DL Hewley to court now? She would be in the right if she did. Because usually what happens when this act itself presents a contractual agreement and they say these are the stipulations that I go under for my performance or whatever the case may be or whatever, my PKA, excuse me, I think it's PKA, otherwise known as either or. When you do all those, usually you present the contract from your company, which if you're a good artist, if you're a good person, or you're someone that's trying to control your career, that's usually what you do. You present your own set of paperwork. If you are not in control, then usually you have one of your agents, or usually you have somebody that's in whatever who handles that business for you contractually. A lot of people opt out not to do that because of the thousands of dollars they ultimately end up paying these agents or whatever the case may be, who basically don't do anything but take a percentage off of whatever your performance is, takes a percentage off of whatever your performance fee is, whatever the case may be. And you are now in the hands of waiting for these people to actually hand you your paycheck, whether you know this or not. Now, I know this from being in the music business and the comedy business and the acting business kind of basically revolves around the same doors. So I think with her Hicks Media, which is Monique's last name, Hicks Media, um, I think what happened here was DL Cooley had a whole bunch of things that he thought that presented and signed, which I didn't see her signature on there. That's another thing that kind of worried me a little bit or whatever, whatever. And there's a couple other things with DL Hewley's contract that he presented to the world that are kind of skewed. And anybody that's in the business, Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. I can't say it here online because if I do, I risk maybe possibly getting sued or something else myself because then it falls off of speculation. And I don't want to do that. But what I will say is there's some inconsistencies in that DL Hewley contract. And if what Monique is saying is true, then the one contract that should have superseded all would have been hers because these were her terms upon performing. Now, a lot of people that are outside the music business, you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. A lot of people that jump online and they get these conspiracy theories about what they think the business is and da 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 da. You're actually talking to somebody that was in the business. I was around it for 17 years, and I wasn't into acting, but I was in the music business, and I know how contractual agreements go. And what I'm telling you is, based on this settlement or agreement of whatever measure it may be that Monique came to today with Netflix, I say it sets its precedence of something else. I'm saying that there's quite, if not just a smidgen, a possibility that a lot of things that Monique has been saying, even though you may not like the way she says it, even though you might not like her approach, even though you may not even like her, I'm saying she's possibly valid here. And have we been making I'm not gonna say we. I hate that we word. I hate we, them, they. Those three words I hate so much. We, them, they, because then it makes everybody inclusive. I'm not inclusive in this. I know better. So what I'm saying is maybe there's a possibility that many of the people that were rallied against Monique, maybe you were completely wrong. And maybe you didn't have enough information provided to you to actually come to that conclusion that you did. You based it off emotion. You based it off what you have seen from other YouTubers. You based it off what you think you have analyzed from seeing other people out there in the know or situations or whatever the case may be. And all of a sudden you become a freaking expert. Now, I'm going to say, some of you that haven't been in the music industry sometimes, or the movie industry, or this industry in general, sometimes you guys have a knack for catching a couple of things. But the thing is, you'll never know the details unless you're at the table. And that's the point I'm trying to get to you. You will never know the totality of it unless you're at the table. And let's just be fair, the majority of you work regular 9 to 5 jobs outside of your vlogging or whatever the case may be. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying to you is, do not act like you're an expert and know what's going on in the business if you've never been in the business. It's almost like a guy that's never baked cookies before, and he's going up against the guy that's been selling cookies in his company for the past 200 years. Not saying that you can't get through, but it's going to be a lot harder for us to you to convince us. I want to say shout out to Monique. I applaud you for your win with Netflix, whatever the measurement and capacity of that may be. And I just want to further say, I think a lot of people on YouTube, you should stop guesstimating or trying to come to conclusions or giving your opinion and sitting it as matter of factly. Because in a lot of terms, not only are you giving an unembellished, unaccomplished, uninclusive opinion, but you're almost misleading people. Now, I want to say one more time before I get out of here, just in case you just turned in. Monique today, or if not yesterday, came to an agreement and reached an agreement with Netflix over purportedly them initially only wanted to give her $500,000, which is chump change, what you take out taxes and everything like that. Many of y'all don't know the first million that pops up, they take it 30% out of taxes, which really brings you back down, depending on what state you in, to 750, 775, in some cases, maybe 812. Okay? Depending on where you at. And depending on how the tax system bracket goes. But they're taking that out of there. Now, with $500,000, you get into a middle school, and you get into maybe 15, 20, something like that, or whatever, which really brings her down to maybe like 300 something thousand and some closer to four. Okay. After she's paid all taxes, after everything that's been spent on the show, preparation, getting there, da 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 da, security if she needs it. Are you following me? There's a lot of money spent. I heard Nick Cannon say this recently. He said that Mariah Carey, for Mariah Carey to leave the house, that's $100,000 with everything inclusive, the cars, makeup, clothing, jewelry, etc., etc., etc. This came out of Nick Cannon's mouth. Okay, it cost Mariah Carey $100,000 to leave the house. I want you to pay attention to that. When we a lot of times when we talk about stars, and a lot of times, especially the women, which I thought a lot of women should have been on her side, and I would think that a lot of women would be reporting the same story. Netflix refused to negotiate further with Monique. At that time, Monique filed a lawsuit based on race and gender and discrimination. Because the typical, if I could say it right, uh, the typical procedure is there's a there's a one offer, and then after the offer, they try to counter the offer, and you negotiate the offer. So say they offer $500,000, it should go up to 1 million, 1.5, 1.2, whatever the case may be. I'm not going to take Monique anywhere further than 1.5, 1.2, based on the revenue she would bring in. And that's if she sees residuals from the show once it airs, residuals for the show once it, may appear here, appear there. Somebody takes a clip out of it. This us here on YouTube taking a clip out of it and sharing it around is costing her money. But I would have to say this. Netflix came to a decision, and Netflix said, you know what? We want to take this out of court. We want to come to an agreement. We want to reach an agreement. So that would seem sense to me, and I would think it would sense to most of y'all, that there was something that wasn't right here. There was some procedure here that was missed, eradicated, not held to the degree that it should have been. And we're sitting here and we're pointing a finger at Monique. But if you ask many different Black and Latino, especially Latino actors, actresses, and artists, they will have similar stories and they will tell you the same similar things. And if you ask Asian artists, they will tell you the same similar things as far as where they put them in roles, how they present them on camera, the music that they are preferably to put out or whatever, where it reeks of violence, whether it reeks of whatever the case may be, even the roles you play in movies. You get typecasted. For the longest time in this country, they used to typecast Asians, and they would come in and be like, "Oh, I see, oh, bigger, bigger." And they kind of almost did that with the movie Shang-Chi, in my opinion. That's why I had a hard time watching that from Marvel. With Latinos, it used to be the same thing. Either he was the gangbanger, the drug kingpin. What's the other ones? The guy that's just coming home from prison, the cholo brother that's in in a biker gang, whatever the case may be. There's always prerequisites that they have when they perform and put people on camera that are people of color. You can ask anybody that's a minority that has been an actor or actress for a long time, and they will tell you this. I think the same premise was put here with Monique. I think Monique came to the table. They looked at everything that was inclusive of Monique. Oh, well, you haven't been on camera for a long time. Oh, well, you haven't put out a new project in a long time. Oh, you haven't done this in a long time. And they felt at that moment, well, maybe we shouldn't offer you more than $500,000 because that's what we feel you're worth. Let alone Netflix has been dwindling with subscribers. And I think 2 months ago, for their quarter reports, they had lost over, I think it was a third of their viewers. Now, these were long-time viewers, long-time subscribers. They lost them. Now, you couple that and you couple the money that Netflix has lost based on a lot of these expenditures, a lot of these shows, a lot of these payouts that they're giving people like Amy Schumer, who I honestly and truthfully believe is talentless. Um, I will give a plus to Dave Chappelle. I will give a plus to Earthquake. I will give a plus to a few other people. Now, with Dave Chappelle, they didn't have no negotiating power whatsoever. Dave, what you want? You know? Amy Schumer, even though I don't really think she's a funny comedian, I think she steals jokes according to a lot of comedians. I think that she's definitely not a great actress. I watched that one movie she was in. They paid her appropriately. So when I talk about Monique and they'd only offered her $500,000, and now we have Netflix saying, listen, we just want to get this out of the way. I don't know the details of the agreement. I don't know if there was an NDA involved where she will not be able to discuss this. But what I do know is Netflix, for some reason or another, decided, hey, we need to get this over and done with. Y'all make sure y'all hit those like buttons while y'all in here. That's the thing. So maybe we're pointing the finger wrongly at Monique. That's all I'm saying. And maybe there's some truth to the things that she's saying. Even if we take in Lee Daniels or put him in the equation, did you not see that Lee Daniels apologized to her? You don't apologize to somebody if you haven't done anything wrong to him. And he did that publicly. Lee Daniels a couple of months prior was in a dispute with Dame Dash because he owed Dame Dash $1 million. But you've made multi-millions of dollars. Why couldn't you pick up the phone? But you're telling me there's no possible way that Lee Daniels could be wrong. What I'm saying is a lot of you guys are coming to conclusions about people that are stars or whatever the case may be. You have no idea outside your speculation, you're guessing. Many of y'all have never even seen a contractual agreement in your whole entire life. I've seen different matriculations of contracts. And I know what they include and what they don't include many of times within the language. And if you don't know how to read those contracts, yes, at the end of the day, you will get screwed over. If you agree to those contracts and they're not under the stipulations that you like, no, you cannot come back later and sue. So Monique made the suggestion in her mind and took the approach in her mind. She said, no, I'm not going to do this. But since the offer was on the board and you wasted my time and I had to spend money coming here, I had to spend money on this dress I bought, I had to spend money on eating, I had to spend money on a car service, everything like that, security even possibly, you're going to make this right. And that's what Netflix did, evidently. Now, the case itself has been dismissed. After this, there's no more of the case. I don't know if she'll be able to come back in later or whatever the case may be and be able to try this sue again, which was a civil lawsuit. But as of this moment, right now, Monique has come to an agreement. No, I don't know the details of that agreement. I don't think anybody ever will, to be quite honest with you, because I think it's under NDA, non disclosure agreement, meaning that you can't release the details to the public. You can't release, and with an international company like Netflix, I can understand why that would be so. So I just want to say this to everybody. I know everybody has their own particular ways they feel about Monique. I'll even say myself, sometimes she fires off of people, maybe the old school way. But what I won't do is I won't sit there, and I've said this from the beginning, and I don't pick sides that much or whatever because a lot of people on here don't have my side. Like, watch this. Hit the like button, you guys. Can you hit the like button, please? Thank you. Don't bet on people of color to have your back, especially when they have the option of bashing you instead. I just told people to hit the like button right there just to give you an example of they're not for you, most of them. Most of them aren't for you. And the quicker that you guys come to the realization that this is not 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever the case may be, you have to start realizing that a lot of people of color and the utilizing of their YouTube, they have only one premise, and that's to destroy you. They don't have a premise about coming in and being all these things that they portray that they want to be. Because I saw people try to tear down Monique more than what she was already. Could y'all hit the like button, please? Watch this. Could y'all hit the like button, please? You'll notice it didn't go up, right? Please don't be fooled by a lot of these people that get online that they talk about they're for the people because in the truth and reality of it, they want to sacrifice you. They look at me as competition. They look at other people of color as competition. And if you say anything or do anything that gives them the notion in a moment to bash you, they will. That's why I tell a lot of you, stop paying attention to a lot of these vloggers that you see, especially a lot of these Black and Latin vloggers that basically live in a geist of gossiping, but never have anything available to prove to you. Don't have anything available to offer to you to give you details of what's inclusive in the contractual agreement. Never have any details to give you of what's inclusive in a detail and when you're going to a filming shoot or whatever the case may be. These people are novices at best, and most of them are guessing. And I'm trying to tell you, the same 20, 30 people that were signing checks 10, 15, 20 years ago are the same 20, 30 people that are signing checks to this day. And their rules of engagement have not changed. And one thing I do know is I know I've never seen any of you, if not many of you, at their tables with their numbers in interaction with them. So stop believing the guy that works at the local car wash or the guy that works at the local corner store or the guy or the girl that works at McDonald's or Popeye's Chicken or somewhere like that or whatever. And start coming to realization if they have the chance to bash you and you're bashing somebody else, they will do that. They will do that. Watch this. Hit that button one more time, y'all. Hit that like button if you would, please. Watch this. And as you notice, it didn't go up. There's a avid thirst within a lot of people of color to bash, to degrade, to attack. It's almost everything that they claim that they're under and they suffer from, they now evoke on you and they evoke on stars. And they don't even realize these stars that you're attacking, these stars set the pathway up for you in many of ways. There's nobody's going to take away that Monique didn't set up the pathway for many of Black female comedians and actresses by a lot of the things that she did. You think they'll go over there and thank her? Of course they won't. They'd rather sit back and wait for some information to bash her. And I tell you this, and I'll tell you one last time. The more and more that you guys go along and you bash each other, you're opening up the door for everybody else to come in and bash you too. And even though you may be thinking you're living in your moment of glory around niggers, T Monique, thank you. Even though that you think that you might be living in a vast of glory amongst niggers, because that's what a lot of people like to do. I heard 50 Cent say this one time, and shout out to Monique because she's now filming on the BMF series right now. She's on set. But I heard 50 Cent say this one time. He said, "You and I both can be in the same pissy elevator, right? We could be in the same elevator and in the projects. And if I have better sneakers on than you, then I'm better than you. A lot of you have grown now and almost matriculated yourself mentally to actually believe in this and now bringing it into a broader spectrum. Now, whether that's Monique or whoever else would bash it or whatever, I spend my time going after others. Others like Amber Heard, because I think her story is resonating bigger than just Donnie Depp and her arguing in court or the allegations or whatever the case may be. There's a video that I'm going to throw up for you guys in a little bit about a woman that was in the gym and this dude was sitting behind her. She tried to accuse the dude of staring at her. You understand what I'm saying? The gentleman happened to be black, the woman happened to be white, but it happens all throughout the spectrum of just men and women itself. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of attacking going on online, but there's no facts being presented. You understand? And if you're not presenting facts, if you're not going along and you're not at the best part living what you're promoting, if you're not being the person that you say you are offline, where the cameras are not rolling, then you're more of a detriment to the culture than any other white separatist could ever be. In fact, I even say you're aiding white supremacy. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, that's a boy over there. That's Tyrone. Uh-huh. That's his girlfriend, Laquita. Yeah, they come here and every now and then. I ain't got to do too much anymore. You know, if I want a nigger bash, that's what they do. I'm trained. You heard me, Dilly. Anyway, these are the mentalities of the people that you have online, and they don't even realize the whole time that you're doing all this bashing or whatever you're doing it via a free account on YouTube, a white-owned company. So I'll say once again, and I'll say for the last time, stop thinking, or the quote that I heard, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Is that the best way to put it? All skin folk ain't kinfolk. And I know that better than anything. Trust me on that. They'd rather bash you quicker than they bash a white supremacist. I've seen people go at Monique and say things about Monique and DL Hewley. I'm going to throw him in the equation too. I've seen people attack them too more than anything. And at the whole time that they sit there and they attack them, now one moment that they ask themselves, okay, how does a white establishment maybe have something to do with this? Or maybe I should look into another layer of this. Like I told you, y'all got to put your big kid pants on and think like Shrek. It's layers like an onion. Don't you get it? And if you don't get it, or you're slow in getting it, you get it later on. Think of it like this. If it was a snake, it would have bit you. My name's Davin Lewis. I'm out of here, and I just want to say one other thing. To those that were in here that couldn't even hit the like button, and to the people that did hit the like button, I want to say this. And I'll give you one more opportunity. Y'all please hit that like button if y'all would. I want to say this. You're exactly the people I'm talking about. There's also another segment of people that will come in here and they will look at a story or whatever. Like one gentleman, I had to block his page because I saw him doing the same thing. This gentleman actually, 20 minutes after I put up my post, he put up the same post. So I said, well, maybe it's a coincidence. Then I put up another post later on. And he did the same thing again. I said, oh, let's block you. Let's block you. Let's block you. What's up, Vic C? What's going on? Appreciate y'all too, man. Appreciate y'all too. Yo soy la negro, la cubano, tú sabes, creo que sí, ¿no? Yo soy dos, but negrito, nevertheless. And so, yeah, I do have certain things to say here, whatever the case may be. But one of the biggest things that I hate is the bashing that goes on daily between minority and specifically minority actors, minority artists. And some of these artists, don't get me wrong, some of them deserve it. Some of them deserve it. If you're a multimillionaire and you still out here dealing drugs, yeah, you deserve it. You know what I mean? If you are a multimillionaire, you're out here taking advantage of women, yeah, you deserve to get bashed. But if you're just simply someone trying to make your way through life and trying to consolidate and trying to make sure that your future is somehow and always protected, then I will say this. And I'm going to answer Epic Eric, so don't go nowhere, all right? I will say this to you. Epic Eric just put in the comments, foundational Black American reparations now. Well, if you guys are amongst each other arguing every 5 minutes and you bash it down each other, you try to present this argument, and somebody, let's say if another culture comes along and they look at the post that you have up, and all your posts are inclusive, all your posts, all your social media, all your pictures, all your jokes or whatever are contestants with bashing your own. Well, how much fertility do you think it would take before I would start sitting back to myself and I would be like, as a white man or whatever the case may be, and I would sit back and I would say to myself, they don't even like each other. So why would I give them money? And based on the factors of what I see that they post up and they put up, I give one of these motherfuckers, let's say, based on reparations, that would probably be somewhere around nationally, based on the population, let's say $7,000 to $12,000 per each one of you, right? Which is a significant amount of money for some people. But let's say 7,000 to 12,000 each household, okay? And you get a significantly more, and I'm basing this on not only the numbers and population, but I'm also basing it on something else. I'm basing it on the actual skew of the number of what did you call it? The pandemic relief checks. Now those checks were $1,200 a piece, and they handed it out to millions of people, right? So it would probably be pretty much the same procedure if they were doing the same thing with you guys. So this is the thing: as they give out those checks, a little bit more per families, a little less per individuals, that are not married, whatever, a little less for couples that don't have children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So we're gonna say the skew is somewhere between $7,000 to $12,000. If I was somebody in the judging seat on Congress or whatever the case may be, and I look through social media and I see how you guys are interacting with each other on a daily basis, I would be like, there's no way in fuck I'm giving those guys $7,000 to $12,000. They're gonna kill each other. Or they're going to take all the money and they're going to spend it and have it right back at our hands within 48 hours, if not less. Your behavior and the way you guys interact with each other online and offline, and you're choosing to bash your old versus bashing the people that really need to be bashed, like a lot of these far right separatist Marjorie Green, who's in Congress. Have y'all ever looked into her and the shit that's a gun toting mother. Bring back an NRA 7 days a week, bring back NASCAR. That's Marjorie Green. You should look into her. Or this other gentleman, this Hispanic gentleman, who has chosen to join sides with Marjorie Green in speeches and has decided to talk against Mexicans, El Salvadorians, and anybody else trying to come across the border where him himself is an immigrant. I can't make this stuff up. There's an ongoing factor here, and Monique is inclusive. I'll just make this a few minutes longer because I just want to stay here because I might forget this thought later. But there's an ongoing factor here. You are utilizing, for y'all YouTubers, you're utilizing a free account here on Google. Okay. And I've said again, and I'll say it again. If we're going to really clean up the filth here, if you're listening to me, Leo, if you're listening, if you're going to clean up the filth here, the way to do it is start charging people a monthly rate. Start charging them a monthly rate to be here on YouTube, and you will watch these motherfuckers disappear. One by one, they'll be gone. The average person that has the most ruckus going on doesn't even pay for YouTube Premium. The average person that has the most ruckus going on and the most bashing here on YouTube, they don't even have a credit card. Most of them don't even have a place of residence to live by themselves, especially a lot of the men. A lot of these guys, they be hopping from my man Red Supreme. I'm not gonna say the dude that he busted out, but he busted out this one dude that used to sit online every day capping for all the worst things that could happen possibly, right? And then he exposed them, and I'm not with the exposing thing. I'm really not. I don't do that. But this one was justified. He exposed them as a guy that was sleeping on his girlfriend's couch and had been subsequently sleeping on couches of girlfriends' homes for the past years, if not decade. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button for me. These are the people, along with another post that I put up. A lot of these people have not even graduated high school. I proved that. I had just been saying it at first, and I got another one for you to prove it again. So I'll be throwing that up right after this. You got people online that have never even graduated high school, never went to college, never been involved in the industry, never been involved in anything outside of the norm, telling you what you should and shouldn't believe in. And I'm telling you, as a person that has friends in the industry, that was in the industry, that still talks to friends in the industry, what you're projecting and what you're putting out to people and what you're saying to people is totally incorrect. And that is not how this business goes. You are mistaking the attributes of YouTube and thinking somehow or another they segue and merge with the industry, and they don't. Your YouTube views, yes, they might be somewhat consistent with the check that you get from a record company if you get signed. But please believe me, they're paying more attention to the streaming that's going on Spotify or whatever to really make the decisions. They don't care about YouTube. Yeah, YouTube's great. You got a million views. The average CEO, let me show you what I mean, because this is how much emphasis y'all put on views and all that or whatever, right? And I keep telling you, that's not the way this goes. But if you want to believe that, go ahead and believe that. For example, a million people come to your page tomorrow, right? A million people come to your page, right? And you've got a GoFundMe link, you've got a Cash App or whatever the case may be. And you do that 1 million view live stream, right? And out of that live stream, only 300 people donate, right? Right? Only 300 people donate to you. Let's say they donate $10 a piece. So you made $3,000 off 1 million viewers, right? How does that transcend and worth it if the post was 4 hours long? You didn't win your potentiality out of that. So that goes to show. Or if you have product for sale, right? Which many of y'all do, and I will be too with my brand Gustavo. But if you have t-shirts for sale and you have 1 million viewers there, right? At that time of that live cast or whatever the case may be, and none of those people, except for maybe 100 of them, buy your t-shirts or whatever, well, you didn't actually win, did you? You didn't win at all. Only thing you did was it was almost like a high school musical. You know what I mean? Oh my God, we got 100 viewers. Oh my God. It's like it's immature because it doesn't translate into a ROI, a return of interest. You understand? All the time that you put in, all the research that you've done, some of it, all that stuff that you've done doesn't triculate into dollars. You understand what I'm saying? Now let's take the same person, right? Let's take a different person, and that person only has 10,000 people on his live, right? 10,000 people. And at the time of his live, he's got product up, same variables. He has product up and he has his Cash App, GoFundMe, whatever the case may be, right? And let's say out of his 10,000 people that he has on there, a third of them donate $10 each. So that's roughly about 3,000 people, right? That person just made out better than you with your 1 million views. You don't get it? Let's say that they buy some of his product, right? Let's just say they buy some of his product. Let's say one third, one third of his viewers buy his product, right? And they buy his product with the price range of $20 or $40 a piece, right? And he's only got 10,000 viewers versus you had 1 million viewers. But his one third of viewers bought that product. So now he's made probably $8,000, maybe even close to nine. Well, you've only made 3,000 and he's done it with less viewers. And this happens day after day, time after time, everything else here on YouTube. So none of you, I'm not gonna say none of you. A lot of you don't think of it in the scale like that. Yeah, you got the viewers. Sure, that's cool. I've got shows. I've almost at 10,000. I've got viewers. But how many of your viewers are interacting with you? How many of your viewers are monetarily supporting you? How many of your viewers are buying your product? How many viewers or whatever? That's business versus jumping online and bashing people for a hobby and getting nothing out of it. If you're gonna bash somebody, at least get something out of it. Have a clinch Monique shirt or have a clinch DL Hewley shirt, whatever the case may be. And as I'm mentioning that, guys, make sure you go to my description box and there's a GoFundMe there. There's a there's a PayPal if you don't have Cash App. Now, if you do have Cash App, it's Cash App $STRINGERBELL80. Now, I know a lot of y'all won't do it. I know some of y'all will. I tend to find that the market that donates to me is weird enough, white men and black women. That's who most of my support comes from. So if you're a white male or a black woman, I appreciate you all. And I only have two men of color, which is TMH. God bless that man, and another gentleman or whatever that periodically donate to me or whatever the case may be. And I appreciate both of them from the bottom of my fucking heart. TMH Global has kept me going so many times. This light I'm using right now, I purchased with his donations. You know what I'm saying? This is not your regular ring light. I want to show all the things that it does, but my light sits on a base. It's huge. It's like I'm gonna take a picture of it one day. You'll see what I'm talking about. I can actually extend it higher than this, where it almost hit the ceiling. You know what I mean? And I did that on purpose, and it breaks down very easily. It's on a tripod basis. I can break it down, clamp it down, put it in my book bag, take it with me. And as long as I got a battery pack that's a USB holder, I could pop this thing up anywhere. But guys, I want to do that. I want to get more equipment. I need a computer. So guys, make sure you donate to the Cash App, GoFundMe. All that stuff is in the description box. If you don't, I understand anyway. I really, I can't express how much I don't depend on people, and I hate to say it like this, I don't depend on people of color to donate to me because of pure simple fact, I don't talk in the octave that they want to hear me talk. A lot of these guys that get online, they want to talk matter of factly, but they're how can I say it, unversed. They've never been involved in it, you know? And then when you say something about them, they're ready to cry like chicks. Well, you would have did this. I'm not going to do it. I look like a fucking robot. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. You know what I mean? Like that's a weak man. That's somebody that's trying to lead you to water and let you jump off the bridge and not even jump in and throw your life preserver. You got to watch people like that. And so I've learned to embrace the few people instead of looking at the majority of my followers, the majority of my viewers or whatever. You saw me just 2 minutes ago, just ask people to come in and hit the like button. They couldn't even do that. And it goes back down to again, we've got a lot of people online, just like Monique, that are spitting and going at anything that pops up, but not having any facts. Now, I want to see how many Black YouTubers, Latin YouTubers today have the goal and the numption out of all the video after video that you put up about D.L. Hewley and Monique. I want to see how many of y'all can really be honest with yourself. And I want to say to you as a viewer, y'all watch your favorite vlogger today. And remember the words I said, and make sure that you share this post, and so they'll have the timestamp on it so you can see what I'm saying. Watch how many will either flip the script, two, won't say anything at all, or three, more importantly, they'll continue their bashing. Watch what I tell you. And if you don't believe me, you'll then see and get to know Rise, because I'm trying to get y'all to a mental area here where you start realizing it seems like the typical job of most African Americans and Latinos online is to bash each other, but you're cowards to go bash anybody else. How come any of y'all ain't going over there to bash Joe Biden? Especially you ladies, y'all advocated for us to vote for him. Why aren't y'all bashing him? How come you're not bashing Marjorie Greene, who has repeatedly gotten in front of Marjorie Greene? Representative Marjorie Greene was here in Hartford, Connecticut. And she went up there, and there were people in the sea of the crowd that had Confederate flags and everything else. I can't make this up. This woman was a gun-toting, pistol waving, Yahoo, Yosemite Sam type of woman. And she openly carries pistols. She's an open NRA supporter. Y'all saw what happened up in Buffalo, New York. I've got my own gist about that or whatever too. And I know I'm going off a little bit about Monique and everything like that. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button, Cash App, and everything else found in the description box. Show your love to the channel. We have a goal here, $400 to $500 a week. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm innocent, but what I will say is I don't have a consistency of putting up the same thing every day. You notice when I said my Cash App, they jumped right off. Don't ever listen to me very carefully. Based on the modern mindset of a lot of African Americans and Latinos, you cannot depend on them. And especially if you're a guy, listen to me very carefully. You are by yourself in society. If you don't believe me, get into an altercation somewhere or whatever, and look around you and see how many people of color are filming versus helping you. And then you'll get the drift of what I'm saying. Yes, you got white racists out here or whatever that don't like African Americans or Latinos as much as apparent. We see it on the news, whether it's with the war, the border, or whether it's with rights and trying to move forward or whatever the case may be, right, in this country. But the number one, and I don't care what anybody says, outside of those elements of the Klan, far right wingers, or whatever the case may be, to bash you every day, especially if you're a man, of people that look just like you, especially the women and the men, both alike. So don't get into this fashion of, oh, we for the people, because a lot of times, a lot of people wear it as a shroud. They wear it as a thing to where if they say what they say or whatever, it'll render things in their emotion that's monetary. It'll render things towards their way as opportunities. It'll render things their way towards whatever the case may be. But in reality, they don't give a shit. They don't care. I'm sorry for cursing, but they don't care. They really don't care. And the sad thing about it is, if the opportunity presents itself and they have to trick, please hit that like button. I appreciate it. Thank you. If they have the opportunity between it to decide whether or not they're going to sacrifice you or work for somebody white in power, you're gone. Trust me on this. A paycheck will change everything about a lot of people that have never had money in their life, have never had opportunity in their life. When in most cases, I hate to say this, a lot of people that transcend and make a lot of money offline, you're not talented at all. You just got a whole bunch of retards to support you. You just got a brace for being lucky. And you'll see another thing, they really don't work that hard. They really don't. I see guys that have a show once a week and get on there, and this is their thing, or maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And they get on there, oh Lord, I'm beefing with so-and-so now. Yeah, I got a problem with him. Yo, let me tell you something, you MF and you hold on, y'all. This my book said this. And as I'll watch, and this is how the black and the Latin mind evidently reacts. They react to drama. So I'll watch and I'll just look at the chat cash app thing. I'll look at the chat room and see the super chats coming in, and I'll be like, oh, this is how you sell yourself. You sell yourself as a professional imbecile. I got you. Well, I'm not in the business of being a professional imbecile. And I'm not going to get up here and bash people of color when we've got way bigger problems going on. Your children are getting killed in the streets. You got people that are coming home from doing decades of time for crimes they didn't commit based on the certain type of technologies that weren't available then are available now, and they're breaking open these cases. I'm not going to sit there while women are getting murdered every freaking day. Innocent people in the subway are getting attacked every day, pushed off platforms and everything else or whatever. You want me to go bash Monique? You want me to go bash D.L. Hewley day after day after day? That's why I make mentions of things like this, because yeah, they are trending topics, and I know a lot of y'all like to hear about these things, but I'm not going to spend the culmination of my YouTube career spending it bashing people. It leads to nothing. It leads to nothing. And if you've seen with your favorite blogger, as she ended up in jail for the same, excuse me, ended up in court for the same type of behavior, y'all know who I'm talking about. And I'm not talking about you, Tasha. I'm talking about what actually happened. Because I know some of your little minions be coming over here. I had somebody flag my page. Let me give you a perfect example. I had somebody flag my page 7 times yesterday. 7 times. And I'm like, yo, what the hell is that about? So I'm not bashing Tasha. I'm just saying the type of programming that you had and the way you went about it, and yes, you collected money, but it ended you up in court. That's my point. I'm not bashing her. I actually think she's a good journalist. If she would just change her premise, I think a lot of you are good social media journalists, or what you want to say. And I think you just are not using your talents for the better of the good. I don't think you're using your crowd for the betterment of the good. And I think the time that you wait and just say to yourself for one moment, maybe I'm attacking the wrong people. Maybe I'm paying attention to the wrong stories. There should have been more people on Amber Heard's story, especially the men. Huh? How many of y'all been born into a courtroom? How many of y'all been dragged through the mud and your reputation sullied or whatever, based on what some woman said about you? And it goes as matter of factly. Oh, I figured that. I knew that. Da, 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 da. How many of you? Huh? Now, many of y'all got this bravado thing with you. You won't admit when something wrong has happened to you. You won't admit when you've done wrong yourself or whatever, because it's not in you. You don't have any accountability. And I noticed that this non-accountability, it really resonates not just with the women. Oh, no, 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 no. It does as well with the men too. And that's why I did my post before. I said, how come men of color are always online and key, he, and ha ha ha, and he. All the while, you got people like the Buffalo shooter that shot all those black people in that grocery store. He's sitting around and he's saying, These motherfuckers are laughing. They got choked. Let me go up here and shoot up this grocery store. Y'all don't get it. Y'all don't get it. So one more time before I leave up off of here, whatever. Make sure y'all hit that like button if y'all haven't. If you don't, I hope you got a good story now. Monique previously sued Netflix for over $500,000 for a dispute over $500,000 being offered to her for a performance on a Netflix comedy special, which is very low ball for somebody like Monique. I'll even say that myself. Not only to mention that the numerous people that came behind her and said she was a fool for not taking the $500,000, meaning that they gave somehow in the scale of whether or not Monique was worth $500,000 based on what, generally speaking, a whole bunch of white people said. Make that make sense. You argue about you want freedom, you argue about you want equality or whatever, whatever. But once you get the opportunity to speak against something that's for that, instead, what you'll do is you'll side with the same white system that you said is oppressing you and live by their dynamics and make your judgment system off their dynamics. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. I can even go as far as to tell you there's a couple of white men that are sitting in the business right now, right, Mr. Michaelis? And there's a couple of white men that are sitting in the industry right now, and they're hoping, they're waiting for the type of guys that will actually do this. This is why you see Dave Chappelle so huge. This is why you see somebody like Jamie Foxx so huge. Because they decided to do one thing that you wouldn't do. Have some gumption and some balls and some gall. Instead, most of y'all will fold to the rules that were set up in perimeters. And I'm talking about a lot of you stars. You know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Let's not sit here and pretend. Okay? All right? Now, I don't do bashing, but if any star comes on my channel and tells me something opposite of that, and I was in the business for 17 years, I swear to God, I will spend my whole entire rest of my career bashing you for saying that dumb shit because you know it's the truth. A lot of these guys sit back and they take what the companies will offer them versus what they're actually worth. We all know this, okay? Versus what they're actually worth. And I think what Monique was doing here was actually trying to set precedents and show, hey, listen, I know I'm worth more than $500,000. I generate more than $500,000 off the residuals from my movie Precious to this day. And that movie's damn near 10, 15 years old now. Okay? The sales from Black, I forgot what it is, Black Media, whoever they are, that does the Big Black Comedy Show or whatever, those sales are still tickering outside of it being on YouTube. You understand? So the only thing I'm saying to you is we're spending time and we're trying to bash Monique and we're trying to decipher what happened with her Netflix settlement that she came to, an agreement she came to with Netflix, either yesterday or today, either or, depending on where you're at. I just want to say this. We may not never know the details. It may not never be meant for us to know the details, but do know this. I'm going to say that Monique may have a point here. I'm going to go as far as to say Monique must have had some validity or Netflix when decided to dismiss the case and come to an agreement. Would you say so? Usually people, when they come to an amicable agreement, it's usually because one of the two parties either believes they're going to lose or one of the two parties just doesn't want to drag it along for the next couple of months. And I don't believe Monique is the type of person just didn't want to drag the thing along for a couple of months. I think Monique is valid. That's all I want to say. And to you YouTubers, I just want to say this, because a lot of you are 30, 35, 40, 45, and even some cases 50 and 60 years old, like that gentleman that shot up the subway here who was a YouTuber in Brooklyn, New York, a couple of weeks ago. He was a YouTuber, if you didn't know that. The shooter that was on the train in Brooklyn that shot up all those people and then ran off the train or whatever the case may be, he was a YouTuber. Yes, he was. He was a YouTuber. So, and he made countless different threats. And one of the things that stuck out to me was I went back and watched some of his material. I did. And the funny thing about it was he was taking donations. There was people funding him. People of color, black people funding him. So blood's on your hand too, whether you believe it or not. Because see, it costs money to drive from Philly or Philadelphia or Pennsylvania and come to New York. That's about a good, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 hours, y'all say, about 6, 7 hours where he was at. He was up there near the Catskills going up towards that way. He was in the country. So it's about a good 6, 7 hour drive. If you're going through Jersey, it's going to probably take you about 2.5 hours before you get into New York based on traffic. Y'all funded him. You understand what I'm saying? And what you're going to find in the future is a lot of people that are funding people like this, including that Buffalo shooter, including a couple other shooters, and including the black shooter. people that are funding them on YouTube, you're gonna find yourself in deposition in court too. And then what do we do then? Do we say, oh well, say he was fighting for the revolution, he's a freedom fighter. All these other little silly comical terms that y'all bring up to make yourself feel good inside versus what's going on in reality. And what's going on in reality is you guys are fueling and funding some of the worst people in the world while taking people like Monique and bashing her and making money off of her as you're doing it. Guys, my name is David Lewis. I want to thank you all for tuning in with me. He was an immigrant. Who was an immigrant? Let me go into that real quick before I leave here, right? Let me go into that before I leave here. Because y'all kill me with this. He was an immigrant. Okay, so there's this term called minority, right? Minority. When you check a box on the sheet for the census, it will say, are you Black or non-Hispanic descent, or are you Black of Hispanic descent? If we go back even further, there was colonization and slavery in all of these countries. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, there are a lot of immigrants that don't like African Americans or whatever the case may be. But there are immigrants that are within these countries respectfully that do know their history, that do know their attunement, that do know whatever the case may be. Now, this is the problem that you got messed up when you say that statement. And like I said, you see very quickly, they're always ready to, well, Epic Eric, this is not one of those channels. So, my friend, it has been good knowing you. Let's get him the fuck up out of here. All right. So for everybody else, I'm not gonna sit there and have a conversation with people that don't donate, don't contribute to the channel. Like, I want to explain this myself. What you have Afro Latinos, okay? Pero yo soy aquí, okay? And I'm also Black American, all right? Both perimeters of those were colonized. One of your weakest links that you have is you have all these people like Epic Eric was just right there. I hope I never see him again. He's never donated here. You have people like him that will try to cause a divide on a minuscule amount of numbers that you have. And this goes for immigrants too. There's people within the immigrant culture that are negritos, negro, Black, that try to divide and tell people before they even come, when they leave the islands and they come to the United States, and I know this for a fact, when they leave the island, they come to the United States, they will say to them, don't mess with those African Americans. Don't mess with Latinos that have been in America for a long time either, because they'll do something to you. They'll kidnap you. Yeah, this is stories like this. They'll kidnap you. They'll kill you. They'll try to beat you. They'll try to do this, that, that. And now we've got an infrastructure of African Americans trying to do the same thing. And I'm trying to tell you this: you don't have enough numbers. You need as many numbers as you possibly get. Now, I'm not saying to you, don't advocate for what's yours. No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, if you further separate the numbers that you could possibly have trajectorily, you better listen to this. If you could expand the numbers that you have trajectorily, because let me tell you something, you don't have a lot. You don't have a lot. And it's going to take an international effort, including those in England too, because you know what I'm talking about too. The same thing is just as clear as those that are of African descent that are in England. A small percentage of the population. White Americans make up 62% of the population. You right now sit currently at 14%. And out of that 14% is only about a third or maybe a little bit more or less that I actually fight. The rest of them walk around like this. Oh, Lord, 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 Lord. Humming slave hymns and shit like that. And it's the same thing that goes on in the Caribbean. Somebody walks past, Jesus gonna make it all right. And all that, right? Right? Yeah, Jesus gonna make it all right. And don't lose your faith in Jesus. But what I'm trying to tell you is, in a wider scale, instead of all this talking y'all doing, because see that shit that happened up there in Buffalo, New York, that was action. And I watched all those so-called FBA motherfuckers that were out there outside, and they watched that white boy get arrested and they did fucking nothing. So what do you think they're going to do if something bigger comes along? So when you come in here and you're talking about that FBA shit or whatever, do that shit on your channel. This is not no real estate that you rented over here to say anything like that. That's why I said the first person that you always got to worry about disrespecting you or disrespecting me, it's never whites. It always seems to be people like that look just like you. Now, I'm going to go into Caribbean people because this needs to be said. Caribbean people, I've seen many of different posts where you get on and you sit there and you talk shit about African Americans. At the same time, you got a lot of African Americans talking about, let's go back to Ghana. So in one token, you want to call somebody an immigrant, but at the same time, you were an immigrant too going to Ghana. Make sense of it for me. Huh? So we have all these compounding arguments or whatever the case may be, and be proud of who you are. Be proud that you're a foundational Black American or whatever. I'm not taking that away from you. I don't care about that. You understand what I'm saying? Don't take away from the colonization that happened in Jamaica. Don't take away from the colonization that happened in Cuba. Esto sabe Cuba Libre. Huh? Don't take away the colonization that happened in any of these fucking islands and then turn around when it all first best suits you and say unilaterally, oh, Black people. But you want to separate yourself. You are not in a position to separate yourself. I don't even think you come to the realization if the shit pop off tomorrow, half of these people are not going to fight with you. Half of these people that are screaming this FBA shit, they will side with a white man. Half of these people that are screaming FBA go out every day of their life and go to a boss and go to a job site and say, yes, sir, boss, or talk or switch their voice up like this. They're like this online. And what we got to do, and a blackity black, and a blah, 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 blah. And then as soon as they're at work, Hakeem, yes, Mr. Jenkins, how you doing? All right, good. I'm sorry I came in late today. It won't happen again. I swear to God. You're two different people. You're not even comfortable with being yourself. All right? That's what I'm getting at here. And it goes back to once again with Monique and what I was saying. People spend their time bashing Monique, but you won't spend the time going against the people that you're saying that oppress you. So if you want to oppress somebody with that FBA, and rally the troops or whatever, please make sure whether you're in the islands, whether you're in the United States, if any of your conversation has to do with separation in between people of this tone, you're a problem too, motherfucker. Y'all have a good evening.